Hi Patreon members, Joe here over at woollycottage.com. It is dye pot Thursday, Friday. Had to wait for my stock yesterday, so this is me just getting around to doing these today. So, the winner of the Mermaid, Opalescent and Haunted Forest is Opalescent by 1 vote. So there's 4 votes, 3 votes, and I think there was 1 or 2 votes on the Haunted Forest. So thank you very much for participating this time round. Very much appreciated that I didn't have to write out all the names and put them in a hat. So what I'm doing this week is pearlescent, and I'm going to be showing you how to one colour to get a fade of colour. I know that the colours in there on the picture have peach. It has, which I have to remember because I've had issues with my printer and I can't print them off, but you can see them up on the screen now. Okay, it's peach, blue, soft yellow, aqua, and the other one violet. Well, it's purple lilac colour, but it looks like a really light shade of violet, so it's an extreme purple to me. So those are the colours we're going with, and I'm working with some bright trilobal. There's some little bits of neps in there, let me just pull them out. Bright trilobal, so we'll be dyeing that up as well in the combination colours that I want to use in the blend later on. We're using a faux cashmere fibre, not faux mohair from last week. We're using the faux cashmere this time. There's some of this ink already soaked. I don't tend to do that with my trilobal because as soon as it goes in the water, the colours just attack it. Okay, the wool we're working with this week, so I've got 300 grams, so it's 3 batts as usual. And we're using a wool that I think is quite underrated. It's a New Zealand wool and it's called Perendale. Now, it's a relatively new pure breed. I say purebred, but it's actually been nurtured and developed. It's a nurtured and developed breed by crossbreeding 2 different sheep for them to create the Perendale wool. So it was created, the crossing of the animals came from the Massey Agricultural College, which is now called Massey University in New Zealand, back in the 1980s. And they thought that they needed to develop a breed of sheep that would be really, really good in really steep, hilly conditions with a lot high rain count, high rainfall and steep inclines. So what they ended up doing was crossing Romney ewes and Scottish Cheviot rams, because with the rams they've got really sturdy forelegs, and obviously being Scotland and the borders, there's lots of hills and steep inclines and stuff like that. So they crossbred those, and they got the name for these sheep from Sir Geoffrey Perrin, P-E-R-E-N, if you want to go and look him up. So they got the perfect sheep that they needed. They're now a dual purpose sheep, and they've got a micron count of 29 to 35, and the staple length is 4.9 inches. So that's roughly what, about 12 to 15 centimeters or something like that. So the ewes are highly fertile, and they produce prime ewe lambs that, when they're crossed with merino, obviously we all know that merinos are really quietly high intense bred sheep in New Zealand and in Australia, but I think they're now starting to think about going to different types of breeds to suit their climate and actually have a bigger production and economy of that. What else have they got? Suited to colder weather and high rainfall areas. And a little bit more information. Rams are 100, the ram of the crossbreed of the Perendale is 100 kilograms to 118 kilograms in weight, and a ewe is 54 to 60 kilograms. So I suppose typically you're probably getting about 2 kilos of wool off that sheep. Yeah, right about 2 kilos of decent wool off that sheep anyway. So I've got some wool in there soaking now. I'm going to put this one in there, take the others out. I've got my dyes all ready, and what I want to show you today is literally when you're dyeing your wool, the typical ratio is 10 grams of dye pigment to, say, a kilo of wool. Okay, or a kilo of wool. So if you're only dyeing 100 grams of wool, you're only going to need 10% of that, which is 1 gram. So the way that I use my little spoons, sometimes I know one's going to definitely have about a gram of of dye pigment in there. But then it's just about what depends on what strength of colour that you want in your actual colourway when you're dyeing it on your wools or on your silks or on your other fibres, the ones that will dye with acid dyes. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to get 100 millilitres of water in one pot, 80 millilitres of another in another pot, and then I'm going to go to 60 millilitres of water in another pot. And what that'll do is I'll be able to take out those strengths. Actually, I'll probably go to another one as well, and I'll be able to take out those dye pigments from the main dye pot, and then transfer those amounts into those water measurements. Okay, you'll see what I mean in a minute when I'll show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to get on with that. Bear with me 2 minutes and I'll be back in a second. Right, so what I do want to show you first, because obviously we're talking about colour change and things like that, and if you feel like that it's a little bit complicated for yourself, you can do a colour change or a colour fade using a variety of different shades of one colour. So for me, I'm going to go with, I've got this fibre, it's soya, merino and soya fibre. I don't know which way do I want it. I want it that way around. And I'm just gonna, I want it to be a gradient colourway. This is a wool that I'd put to one side so that you could see what I'm gonna do. This one's going up to the woolly goods gathering. So I'm just gonna put this in the tray, and I want 2 shades of grey. So I want a light grey and a dark grey, and then I want 3 shades of pink to go along it. But I'm just gonna use what's in my dye stock already, so I can create a colour fade from those 3 pinks, different shades or different tones that have obviously got different colour bases, just so you can see the different effect, if that's what you would rather do, which is not a problem. And if you wanted to lighten or darken those, then you might make them a stronger colourway, then you could just add a little bit more pigment or less pigment and more water. That's the equivalent to your white. Remember, your water is your white, it's your friend. That if you want something to look lighter, you just reduce the amount of dye that you add or add more water to it. Okay, so I've got, where are we? I've got ballerina pink. So I'm just going to put these in here. So I've got this lovely ballerina pink that I want for this one. I'm going to put it in that pot there. And I have got a fluorescent pink, which I'm going to stick a little bit in this one, because less is more with this lunatic. Is a little bit vibrant and it goes everywhere. And then I've got a dash of pink orchid as well that I want to put in. Actually, I'm not going to go with pink orchid. I'm going to go back over to my pot and I'm going to grab, where's the pinks? I'm going to grab, where's the pinks when you're looking for lilac, valentine, berry crush. I'm going to go with berry crush instead, because I'm going from the fluorescent pink. I want something that will be on the same sort of wavelength as it. It'll be a little bit, it's darker, but it's not as bright and vibrant. And then it's obviously going into ballerina. Now next, I've picked up one grey tub, and it's twilight grey. So I'm going to put in a good amount of grey into this one, and then half that amount into my other pot with the same amount of water. And that should give me the shade that I'm looking for, because I want it as a gradient colour change. So just grab an old spoon and just give them a stir, and then we'll get them in the tray and we'll dye them up. And then while they're doing that job, I will talk to you about your stock. Okay, so the lighter colouring I'm going to put in down this end. So that's the ballerina pink out of Dharma's dyes. Right, this is the fluorescent pink, which I'm going to put in next. I haven't done a very strong dye stock solution with this, I just want it to be notable. And then we've got the berry pink, which is more of a plummy pink in here. And then we'll add in my darker grey solution next. and then my lighter grey in this end. And you can, believe it or not, there is a difference already. You can see it. So I'll just pat that down. I want these to all blend into each other because it's a gradient roving. Okay, and there's a ballerina pink down the bottom. And then I'll just put that on the sizzle. Do this top end first, the greys. Can you see here on the screen? This is the lighter grey here, and this is the darker grey. So you can see already there's a slight, just by reducing the pigment amount in a spoon by half, has already made a difference in the way it looks. So just turn that down, and then we will pop over here. But I'll bring the jugs up to you when I'm doing them. I'm just going to give them a quick rinse, and then we'll get the colours out that we're going to work with. So I'm going to do one roving at a time. I think I'll go with violet for one of them as a gradient colour change. I'll go for aqua on the other one as a colour change. And then I think we'll make up a peach, because that will be mixing a couple of colours together, because I don't have any peach left. So that'll be a good one for you to see how that works. Okay, so I'm just going to pour in my 100 millilitres into my pots. Right. I need 80 for this one, on where we are, 200. Right. That'll go. And that one a little bit less. And then one more. There we go. So we have got my main pot that I'm using for my stock. Just put that over there. This is for my larger amount. I need to go and hunt out the syringe. Oh, there it is. It's down there on the drain. There's the next. See how the levels are different. So what I'll be doing is filling this up with the colour I'm going to go with. So we'll go with the violet first, and we don't want a lot of it because it's supposed to be pastel, but if that's not how it turns out, that's fine, because we're doing a colour fade in the water solution. So I have got my largest spoon, and that's probably the equivalent of a gram. I'll put that in there, and we'll give that a stir. And I'll go and grab my syringe. Now the syringes, you can buy a pack of 10 off of the old dreaded you know what online for not a lot of money, well under a tenner anyway. And what it's really good for is direct dyeing. So if you're interested and you want to buy some, I will have a look, see if I can find the link for you, and I will put it on at the bottom in the descriptions. There we go. I'm going to push that forward. I don't know why, but my will's gone green. Oh, I'm going to have to have a word with that in a minute. So you get your syringe. Okay, that's not cool. I have no idea why that looks like that. Hold a minute, get this one. Okay, so you get your syringe, and it's a 20mm rubber tip syringe. So when you take it out, well, it's rubber on the end of it, okay? There we go. And it is a 20 millilitre rubber end syringe. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out 40 millilitres of my dye stock. I'm going to put it in the jug that's got less in it, less water. So pour that in there. Okay, actually I think I'll go with 60 for this one, because we've got 100% dye stock, and I've got 60 dye solution to 40 mils of water, just plain water. The next one will go to 20, 25 mils, and then the next one we'll just do a 5 ml stock solution in that pot, and that's it. That's generally all you need to do. So what we've got the dye stock solution already in there, but in the strongest colour, and then from there you go to this one, which is a 60-40 ratio. So 60%, 60 millilitres of dye stock solution to 40 millilitres of water. Then this one here is 25 to 75, so a 25 millilitres of dye stock solution to 75 millilitres of plain water. This one I'll have to top it up a little bit, I think. Bring that up a bit more and then add a little bit because it wasn't quite high enough. I'm just going to add in, there we go, that is now 10 millilitres of dye stock solution, and you can see the colours are different, slightly different. So that's easy how to do it. So you want 100 millilitres. I need to add in a bit of grey in this because I don't like how it's gone green. It should be going green. Hold on a second, guys. That's bonkers how it's done that. So yeah, you want 100 millilitres in one big in a pot. Okay, I mean, the professional dyers, they'll make 500 millilitres up in a big pot, and they'll work out the solutions or how much grams that they need in their actual storage jar, and then they'll just get it every time they need it, and they'll take out X amount of percentage because they know how they've worked it out. But for you guys, I'm just looking for that. For you guys, you don't need to worry about that too much because you only want it for a little amount and for probably one, maybe two dye sessions on the same day. Got catastrophes going on here for the people. Not quite how I expected it. Right, let's see if we can salvage this. Right. So you want 100 millilitres of water. You want to add in a gram or more, depending on how strong you want the dye stock, into that water. And then to get lighter shades of that, you do 20 millilitres to 80 millilitres. So 20 millilitres of dye stock in a syringe in 80 millilitres of plain water. Or you can do 30 millilitres of dye stock and 70 millilitres of water, and then just change your ratios around. It'll give you different tones, okay? I have no idea what's going on with my dye pot today. It's been an absolute calamity this morning. It's now gone blue. I have no idea what's going on. I may have to redo this one. That's fine, just wait for this dye to go. So yeah, so it's just about having a little play with your ratios, thinking about what you've got. If you're lucky and you have got a microgram scale, a small digital scale, then you can weigh out the gram that you're wanting. But as a general rule, 10 grams of dye pigment in a dye stock for 100 grams of roving that you want to dye is going to be mentally strong, really strong. But that's not to say you couldn't do it, but you might find you'll have to put something else in the water afterwards and it will light a shade. But I generally go for the ratio of 10 grams of dye pigment in my solution for a kilo of wool. Okay, you're not going to be dyeing a kilo of wool like I do, but I don't use all the same colour neither. So yeah, that's where you go. So if you're only dealing with 100 grams of one wool that you're going to dye with, then you're looking at 1 gram per 100 grams. So I've literally put in about a gram of dye pigment in this 100 millilitre dye stock solution, and then divvied that up between to get lighter shades for what my needs are. So I hope that makes sense. If you've got any questions, pop down below. there are a few others out there that will explain it a little bit differently from me if you don't understand it, but I will try and explain it better on a Q&A next month, because the Q&A will be in May when I get back from Edinburgh. Right, I think we are. I'm going to have to go and fill my sink up with some fresh water now and take out this other Perendale. Adding some more hot water to that. Right, so we've got 3 Perendales here. We're sticking with some fabric conditioner for water. Okay, let that just run for a little minute, and I'll turn this top off, put this catastrophe dye job in the sink. And I'll get this purple fade done. So the idea that I'm thinking is we'll do a gradient fade for it as the main centerpiece of these bats in the different colours from the opalescent theme. But then on top of that, we'll put the other opalescent colours on top of them. So I'm going to use a mix of bamboo that I've got up the stairs and either pair it up with a merino or corrodale or a mixture of both. I might even have some Shetland up there somewhere, but we're aiming for the same colours and shades that we've got up the stairs. Or on the picture image that I'll pop back up here so you can remember, because I have to remind myself. Right, so what I'm going to do, obviously because we want a colour fade, we need the wool to be lined in a certain direction. We don't want it up and down this way on my tray. I need it to be this way. If I did it up and down this way and I'm putting my dyes across, it's not going to give me the gradient. Well, it's going to give me the gradient effect that I'm looking for, but for one piece of roving, I just spin it so the colours fade all the way through, or for blending my art bats, I want the colours to be transferred all the way through, so you got the different shades, which makes my life a little bit easier. Because if I did it the other way and dyed them in blocks, then I'd be finding myself stripping it up into loads of little different colour sections, which would just be an absolute nightmare. And it's all about trying to make your life easier, especially when you're like me and you're dyeing job lots. Right, so I'm gonna put that in there. There we go. So there's my wool inside there, but what I want to actually do is just rearrange these and bring them down a little bit, because I'm going to put my faux, am I going to put my faux mohair cashmere in this? No, I won't actually. I will dye the faux cashmere in a complementary colour that we're looking for anyway. That's fine, Joe. You're way ahead of yourself, girl. Right, so I'm going to put in my Peely Wally 10% dye stock solution in this bottom end here. And look at it. It's like it looks like purple dishwater. There's not much to it, but if that's the shade you're looking for, then that's perfect. The next one I'm going to put in was the 25 milliliter stock solution to 75% water, 75 milliliters of water. And put that in there, and already you can see the color difference on the camera from this Peely Wally to that one, which I will show you in a minute from a different angle. Then this one is the 60 dye stock solution to 40 milliliters of water. So okay, so look at that, that's even more vibrant. Okay, and then the last one, which is the one with the 100% dye stock solution, that is going up here. Now, you don't have to do a 1% dye stock solution. You can do a 2% dye stock solution. If you want the colour really, really strong, then that's fine. But if you want to do it so it's a colour fade like this, just remember to have a couple of jogs put to one side, and you can still do this effect with a really stronger, bolder colour if that's the way that you want to go. I'm just using 1% as a marker because it's easier to work from for you imagining what I'm meaning. Okay, and then we've got the Peely Wally down there. Can you see all of those? See? Right, so we'll get this put on, and I'll just go and grab a scoop of citric acid. Which I forgot to put in the bottom of my tray. Now, the lighter colours will saturate into the milk a lot quicker than the darker colours will. These ones, if I was to do this, I mean, they're practically gone already. I'll grab the camera so you can have a look. So this is it from this angle, so you can see the colours all the way up. Let me just turn this heat down a little bit because that's fine now. So this one already, there is a purple tinge to it, and you can see in the water there's a slight tinge, but it's practically clear. Then if you go up to this one, it's even lighter, and then that was a little bit darker, and so on and so forth, until you get up to the top and it's a really quite a dark, vibrant colour in the water. So this end technically is going to saturate the colours a lot quicker because it's not as much dye pigment in the water, or in the dye stock solution. So I'm going to start at this end and let the heat traverse up. Sometimes if you have your pot on too hot as well, that's enough. I mean, dyes will split, okay, and you'll get other shades and colours coming through them. If you keep your heat down to a nice medium heat and not bubbling and simmering, then I sometimes find that my wools don't seem to split as easily, okay? And I'm just going to give this a little pod down because that's the colour change there. Okay, so we'll come back to this one in a minute. I'll go and get the dye stock solution done for the next colour. So again, this is the next colour, and I've done a 100% dye stock of aquamarine. Okay, so we'll zigzag this up the tray like we did the first time round. The other one's in the sink now, but as usual, once they're dried, I will show you when I blend up the first bat probably on Sunday. And show you the colours that we came out with for this dye pot session and how they turned out. And maybe by Sunday a couple of you might have put a couple of comments at the bottom of this video for me to maybe address if there's anything that you think I might have missed out, but I've said it, but I'm quite happy to repeat it if you need me to. Okay, so that's that done. But what I'm going to do this time is now that my wool tray is getting a little bit empty, I'm going to stick my dye pot stocks in this tray for you to see. So there's my aqua green, and here is my 80 milliliter water. There is my 75, and there, to pour a little bit more out, is a 50. So I'm going with a 50-50 on this one this time round. So the rule of thumb is, if you take out 35 grams of water from 35 millilitres of water, take that out from your 100 millilitres that you had in there. Then in essence, what you want to do is transfer 35 millilitres of water from your dye stock into this pot to bring it back up to 100 millilitres. Okay, with this one it's 80. So there's 80 millilitres in here. I've took out 20 millilitres, but I'm going to add in 20 millilitres into this pot to give it a 20-80 ratio. You follow me now? So they're the only two ways that I can explain it. Right, so I need a 50-50. Oh, actually, I'll just go for a 50-40 ratio. I can always add in a little bit more water. So 40 millilitres of liquid in that. So what I'll do is I'll take out 10 millilitres of this plain water into there, and that takes that back up to 100. I will just stick in a bit more water to my little pot over here. So there's 40, so that's my largest concentration of stock in this 100 millilitre cup now. This one I'm only going to add 20 to it. So pull my syringe all the way up. Okay, there's my dye, and then put that straight in to that, and that brings that up to 100 millilitres. Fine. Do the next one, which should be 30, but I'm going to leave it, I think 25 actually it is, not 30. So we'll do 20 millilitres and then a 5 in there. Okay, that's that 5 in there, and that's just now got 4 different ratios with 100% stock. We've got a 60-40 ratio, we've got a 20-80 ratio, and we've got a 75-25 ratio. That's it. So we'll get this over here. So I want my lightest one, which is this one, up this end. I start with my lighter colours down the bottom. There's a reason for it, and it's nothing technical. It's because my house is wonky. So my cooker leans forward this way. If I started with a dark colour up here, by the time I got down to here, the dark would have already gone all the way through. There is a reason. It sounds illogical, but it works. So there's my next colour, the next saturation, a little bit darker than the other. Not lots, but it's slightly noticeable. Put in this next one, you can see straight away that it's a darker concentration. I'm not going to use all of this because I don't think it'll fit in the pot, because I want to use a little bit for dyeing my faux and my just a little bit in the bottom there. I want it from the trilobal and for the faux as well. And to be fair, there was just a little bit dash more of the water in that one, because I knew that I wanted to keep it and put it aside for dyeing up the faux and the trilobal. So I'm just going to pat that down. I've already put the citric acid in the bottom of the tray already. You might have noticed that when I was putting it out. So just pat those down. Make sure the dye's gone all the way in. And there's already a massive difference between these and these ones. The aquamarine green is really quite easy to dilute. It wants to be really light and airy fairy colour anyway. Okay, so we'll get the tray put on. There we go. That looks really quite smart. And I know you're thinking, but that's not the colours that we thought we'd picked. No, it's not, but these ones are. And then when we do the effect to it, I've got some natural Tusha silk left up the stairs, because that will help bring in a pearlescence. You can do things to stuff to give it that sheen and that look and that atmosphere of a pearlescent style. But we're only using that as a colour inspiration, but I will veer on the more shiny side when we get round to blending it. Okay, so I'm just going to let that do its thing for a bit, and we'll be back for the next colour, which we're going with I think we'll go with alpine blue or cream. I'll decide in a minute. I'm going to turn this heat down because it's starting to get a bit steaming. Okay, so what I've done is I've left that pot, it hadn't all completely saturated, but the wool was fine. It got to the shade, the dye saturation that I was looking for. And I've got this leftover aqua. So I'm going to pour this in now. We're inside my pot, because I want to dye up some faux fibre and some trilobal. So I'm going to put them both in here. And because they're completely different fibres, you'll see one take up this colourway differently from the other. Let me just get a piece of this faux fibre. There we go. Put that in there, and then put that in there. Sometimes they take the colours up differently. And then I'm going to turn up the pot, but not too much, because I don't want it to split. Sometimes that's a mistake a lot of people do. I'm going to flip that over. That's the mistake a lot of people do sometimes, is got the water on too high, and that can be the reason, and sometimes the reason as to why your dye splits. Not always. I mean, it's just a working method that I think on. Is maybe is the heat in my tray too hot? Is that the reason why my colour's splitting? Because sometimes I'll have colours that have come out true how I expect them to be, but then I'll get other times where the colours will be multicoloured because it's like a large amount of underlying pigments in that colour pot that I've got. So like there's a dye called tobacco, and it comes out looking with hints of fawn and bronze and lichen greens in there, but it's not the colour I'm expecting it to be. But then I can dye it in something else and I'll end up with the true colours. So for me, maybe it's because the heat of the water that I'm soaking it in is too hot. Okay, so maybe that next time, just a point of thought, have a little try yourself. If you've got a colour at home that tends to split, just do 2 samples of one on the heat setting that you would normally do it on, and do another heat setting lower than what you would normally do. And it might take a little bit longer, but it might actually be the answer you're looking for. But then sometimes these colours that split open into different under base layers, they can turn out really, really pretty. But sometimes that's not what you're looking for. Right, so that water is completely clear, it's saturated, and this is a good thing to buy in so you can clear your dye tray of any excess dye that's in there, especially with turquoise and magenta. So I'll turn that off now and go pop over and stick this in the sink, and we're back in a second. Okay, so we're back again, and we're gonna get this wool in here. This is the last one we've got, the wools that we've got to do, and then we'll do a quick run through of the trialobal that I've got. I've got 4 pieces of trialobal I want to dye in the supporting colours, and I've got I think 2 pieces left over of the faux fibre that I want to get in with these colours as well. Right, nearly there. Okay, so I think this time we will go with a really pretty alpine blue. Dharma dye alpine blue. I'll turn you around again so you can see my pots. Can you see them okay? Yeah, you can. So the big one at the back here, this one here, is the one that I'm going to be putting my pigment into, my dye into that one. Give it a swish, help it dissolve inside there. It is warm water out the tap. You can use hot water out the kettle, but let it cool down a little bit. So we have got an 80% here, 80 millilitres in this one, so I just want 20 millilitres of my dye stock solution. So this is going to be my lightest colour. Okay, this one here has got 60 millilitres in it, so I want a 40 millilitre of dye stock in this one to bring it back up. 1 and 2. Okay, so that's had 20, that's had 40, so I think we'll go for a 10% on this one. There we go. There's not a lot of water in this one, but I'm quite happy with that. Actually, I will add in a little touch more. There we go. So we're now going to put all of these, so that's my lightest, my mid-tone, and that one should be that way. 10, 20, crikey, calamities in the house. 10, 20, and a 40 millilitre solution. Okay, so we'll turn you around. So we'll go for the 10 back down here at the bottom again. That's the 20 millilitres of dye stock solution in this one. There isn't much of a difference. It's a really nice pale pretty blue anyway. This is the 40% dye stock solution in that one. You can see the difference straight away. And then this is the 100% dye stock solution in this one. And I think we'll leave a little bit of this again at the very, very bottom and save some of that for my man-made fibres. So we'll get that pushed down and make sure it's actually inside all the wools. And because of the micron count on this, 29 to 30, you're going to get more of a dusky tone. And when you're dyeing with wools, you'll find that yourself. You can have, and I did this sample the other day though with some rovings I was dyeing up for the wool gathering, that I was dyeing on a Shetland and I was dyeing wool on a merino, and I used the exact same colour combination dye pots on both of them, but yet on the Shetland it was a lot more duskier in comparison to the merino, which was a little bit more bolder in colours. It seemed to strike stronger, and that's because of the micron count, because one's a fine wool and one's a coarser wool. So keep that in mind as well. If you think, oh, it's not come out the same as the other one, try and remind yourself whether you actually had dyed up with the same breed of wool. You may see a difference. So I think I need to put some citric acid in. I can't remember if I put any in there. I think I might have done. I feel my fingers nicking a bit, but I'll put in a little bit more. And because the blue pigment of this one is really quite pale, it strikes really quickly. So I've got quite a lot of white patches in this, but I think it'll make for a really pretty effect regardless. So I don't mind that too much. It just strikes. You've got to take that into consideration as well. That if you've got a really, really, really weak dye stock solution, in other words, less pigment in your water, then it does strike really, really quickly, and you may find you want to add more to that later on if you want a darker shade. There we go. So I'll leave you to the next bit. I'm just going to wait for this. It's nearly done. It's nearly all done completely already. That blue's nearly completely gone. If we take that piece there, look, it's clear. So this will all be a few minutes in the doing. And then I can take that out and I can do a bit of faux mohair and a dash of trilobal in my dye tray. And I could probably get away with taking this out now. Yeah, I will do. See how quickly that was. Just a few minutes I've been sat here talking. I'll get some blue coming out of it now. So I'll just let that drip. And in that same dye pot, I'll throw in the last of this blue. Wing this in the sink. And then put these other two bits of fibres in here and use it the last of this blue pot. There we go. That's in the sink. Pour in this blue. Clean the spoon. Okay, that's really quite vivid in there looking, isn't it? It looks almost like sapphire. Right, so a piece of trilobal. And some faux fibre in that as well. They're dyeing a little bit bolder than what I'm expecting, but it's okay. I can put in a bit more of this one, the faux cashmere one, and it will pick up the last of those colours and it'll give me a lighter tone for what I need. Right, that'll do for that one. So we'll get these out and we'll put another colour in this tray, and I'll just keep using this until all the dye stock's saturated away. I think we'll go with a little dash of pink and cream to try and get a peachy colour on there. Right, just the tiniest hint of pink. And add in some vanilla cream, which is a really, really, really pale yellow. So I'll just pop that in there. And fingers crossed, we get a peachy tone. Not so vibrant. No, we're going to need a bit more. You guys probably can hardly see that. Right, so I'll get a piece of this, put the pot down, Joe. A piece of faux. No, didn't get peach, that's for sure. Got a really pastel-y, soft lilac colour in that. That's okay. We needed the lilac anyway for the purple part of it, and it's not overpowering. It's quite pretty actually. There we go. That's another one done, and I don't mind these lighter patches. That's not white, it's actually lighter patches on there, but the water's completely evaporated. Right, now I'm going to add in some of this yellow on its own. Just chase that colour pigment that's around in the tray. It looks white to you, but I just chase it around with this stuff because it doesn't felt. So I do allow myself to mess around with it a bit more than what I'd normally do. So that'll do for that one. And then I think we will go with what we got. We'll go with a little bit of this pink. That's all we've got left, is this piece here to do. And just give that a few minutes. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed what I managed to teach you and translate the information over to you without a problem. Hope you understood that. If you didn't, let me know and I will see if there's an easy way, but I can't think of any other easy way to explain to you apart from getting it written down. But you can actually access the information online anyway if you want to see it written down. Just ask for dye stock solutions and it'll come up with it and the figures with it if you work better that way. But it's pretty simple and straightforward if you stick with a 1% to 100 gram sort of ratio type thing. But yeah, that's it for now. So I'll see you on Sunday for definite this week with the first instalment of the art bats. Look at the colour of my fingers. That's it for the rest of the day. I've got loads to get dyed up. I've got about 14 kilos of wool to dye up today. So I'll see you on Sunday. If you've got any questions about today, drop them in the comments as usual underneath this video. on Patreon and or on the YouTube platform. And don't forget to like. It does actually help as well with the videos going through in the algorithm and being read that they're actually being watched. Okay, so that's me for today. Take care of yourselves, and I will catch up with you soon.